Thank you. Thanks to all of you for joining us at this meeting of European Patriots. Thank you for always being by our side in the difficult moments and in the even more difficult moments. Thank you for despising the permanent attacks that intensify when we advance, because they bark, then we ride. Attacks that I can assure you, I can even promise you, are going to intensify as we grow up. We are going to grow up, and we are going to be attacked much more than we have been attacked these days, and then we have been attacked in the past. And here, we are going to continue steadfast together with you, and thanks to you. But tomorrow I will be able to address the Vox affiliates in Murcia, but today, I want all of us to thank the real protagonists of today. All those leaders who have preceded me in the use of this tribune, all the voices that you have been able to hear here today, and that are advancing unstoppable and victorious throughout Europe. They are the voices of millions of Europeans who, together with all of you, know that another different future is possible, and that we are going to build it together. We are going to build it together with many others, because there are more and more of us, and because the future belongs to us. That's why I want to ask you today for a round of applause for all of them. I want to give a round of applause to someone who can't join us today, but has sent us a video. Herbert Kickl, who represents the first party in Austria, and who will be able to form a government in Austria very soon. Let's hear it for Christoph Bosik, our ally in Poland. Also for our friend Martin Helm, who represents us courageously in Estonia, and for our comrade Aphrodite Letinopoulou, who courageously defends in Greece the same ideas that we defend here, and for our friend Petr Mazinka from the Czech Republic, and the Bikers Party, and of course for our friend of so long ago Ander Ventura, who I think will convince the Portuguese. But if he does not succeed, which is not going to happen, let him know that he has a seat in the Spanish Parliament, because he is an immensely better speaker in Spanish than most of they intervene in the Parliament of our homeland. Thanks to the former Prime Minister of the Czech Republic, Andrej Babiš, for what he did, but above all, for what he will do in the future, in that victorious breakthrough, also in the Czech Republic. Thank you to Girl Builders, who for so many years has shown extraordinary courage putting her safety at risk, and taking over from others who lost their lives, for defending our identity, for defending our freedom, and for defending a Christian Europe and safety on its streets. Thank you, dear Matteo Salvini, for your courage, for having suffered, for defending us all, for wanting to protect Europe's borders. Thank you for what you are doing in the government of Italy. Thank you, Marine Le Pen. You are a true example of resistance for all of us. You know what it's like to fight for decades in front of the cordon sanitaire, in front of the pact of everyone, against those who win. That you know what it's like to be France's first match for a long time, and for everyone to band together, to prevent your victory. They have less and less time left. We follow in your footsteps. You are an example, and you are a source of pride for us. Thank you, friend Viktor. I cannot correspond to such an emotional speech, with such deep historical roots, as the one you were able to make before all of us today. But you are also an example for all of us, an example of victory and sustaining victory. But I want to tell you the most important thing I wanted to tell you today. I was able to watch some videos of Viktor Orbán yesterday at the San Miguel market, and people approached him, treated him kindly, and people loved the achievement of Brussels. I don't know if you know, Viktor, that Pedro Sánchez can't go to the San Miguel market. Well, actually, Pedro Sánchez can't go to any market. He can't go to any street. He can't go to any neighborhood because the Spaniards hate him. Spaniards are fed up with their betrayal and corruption. And today it is if the one they have wanted to turn into the achievement of the European Union walks the streets of Spain and is loved. While the president of the government of Spain cannot leave the closed events and the security cordons. Well, look, Pedro, the one you insult in the parliament of our nation, walks quietly through the streets of our homeland. And we are glad about it. Welcome, Viktor. Also thanks to our dear Javier Milei, who is an example in the defense of freedom, in his opposition to Agenda 30, globalism, and all the lobbies that want to destroy the innocence of children, and who has sent us that electrifying harangue again. Thanks, of course, to Corina Machado, who has been at the moment the woman who has obtained the great support of Venezuelans, and who will be the liberator of Venezuela if all of us support her. And thanks to Kevin Roberts, who is also joining us here, the president of the Heritage Foundation, the most important political foundation in the United States, that has been working in the cultural battle for the defense of sovereignty and freedom in the United States for a long time. Because when big changes take place, and here we sometimes see with simplicity, we know that there are many people working behind all of us. Thank you very much, Kevin. You are very welcome among us. Thank you for being here. Thank you for joining us, but above all, thank you for your example. There is a clear summary. I could say nothing more, although I will have to say something, but there is a clear summary of this event. Sanchez with Maduro and with Never. He met with von der Leyen. We, together with all of you, with the future of Europe, and with the future of the world. It's not by chance, it's not a calculation. We are linked by very close ties. We are united by love for our homelands. We are united by attachment to the freedom of our peoples and attachment to our personal freedom. We are united by the defense of our borders, because high fences make good neighbors. And also, and this unites us a lot, we are linked, closely linked by the ferocity of the attacks made on us, by the different pieces of globalism. Against us, that is, not only against us who are in the front row, against all of you. They have tried and they are going to try everything, and not just discouragement. From crazy judicial processes to physical violence, through slander, demonization, silencing, sanitary cordons, and even murder. And I'm not the only one who knows what we're talking about. Many of those in the front row know this. And that is why it is very easy to recognize our allies, even without having to listen to them. We see them all over the world. They are the ones who get the most attacks. We have seen it in the United States, and that is why we congratulated ourselves so much. When the judicial operation to imprison Donald Trump failed, and even more so when the assassination attempt on Donald Trump failed. And for that very reason, we were so glad of his victory. Now there are some who want to tell us as if we obey someone else. No, we are patriots, and we do not look for a savior in a foreign nation, even less an emperor. We are looking for if we have found a comrade in arms in the battle for the good, for truth and beauty, in the battle for common sense, and in the battle for freedom. There are others who are lackeys of Brussels. It's others who were Joe Biden's lapdogs. We are nothing like that because we are patriots. And we are glad to be able to have Donald Trump by our side in the battle for freedom. Because it seems incredible that something as incredible as a free world has started to lose freedom due to digital censorship has happened. A censorship only imaginable in totalitarian regimes and literary dystopias. This has been recognized by the very architects of that censorship who have told everyone, practically on their knees, that they were receiving orders from the previous American administration to limit freedom of expression only to what we defend and to what the majority of our peoples think. And a censorship that now seems like it's going to disappear when the big tech companies start collaborating with the battle for freedom. It turns out that the European institutions are coming to try to promote censorship again in a more aggressive way. Europe has never experienced such relentless censorship in peacetime as it is experiencing today. And why? You know that very well. Because they don't want the Europeans to hear our message. Because they don't even want the victims of their immigration policies or their green policies. They don't want people who suffer insecurity or who suffer ruin because of their harmful ideologies to be able to even protest on social networks. Because they do not want to allow something so essentially European and attached to our tradition and our civilization as freedom of expression. They don't want it because they want us to be quiet and ruined. They want us subdued and vulnerable. And they have not only done it through socialist laws or the directives of supranational organizations polluted to the core by Hewickism, by climate fanaticism, and by socialist globalism. It is that they have also invested billions and billions, public and private, in strengthening the oligarchies, and in imposing their own ideological nonsense, their most insane follies. That is why one of the reasons to celebrate the victory of that comrade in struggle who is Donald Trump is that at least part of that multi-million-dollar flow to destroy our sovereignty and our freedom is going to stop. It has come to an end. And that's great news. How can we not applaud him? Because it is going to put an end to those millions that finance lobbies that corrupt children in schools, that finance the media that demonize us, that finance extremist activist organizations, and those mondialist dinosaurs, that pretend to tell us how to think, how to eat, how to work, how to live, how to travel. That is, they want to become the new gods of the world and of our lives. It's all right now. That's enough already. We have had enough of those little tyrants who have done such great damage. And it is up to us, to all of us, to prevent the European structures from continuing to invest the money of the Europeans, the money that they confiscate with abusive taxes, in the promotion and imposition of suicidal ideologies that destroy ourselves. Openly anti-European ideologies that only seek the destruction of national esteem, of one's own patriotism, the destruction of borders and even of our own wealth. Now they are raising their voice with the tariffs that seem to be coming. The big tariff is the Green Deal and the confiscatory taxes from Brussels and socialist governments all over Europe. That is the great tariff, the one that the progressives, the communists and the popular ones who make an agreement with them put on the peoples. And defeating those enemies of our people is undoubtedly the battle of our time. Therefore, thank you in short, dear friends, for signing up for that battle, those in the first row and those in the last row. And above all, because of that willingness to collaborate until we achieve victory, until we achieve the reconquest, which I was not going to mention, but which I have liked to hear in each of your speeches. We Spaniards really like you to know us for that extraordinary feat of our ancestors, for having been the wall of Europe, in the advance of Islamism. We are ready to be it again. We couldn't keep fighting alone, each on our own. They were looking for contradictions. They were telling us, you are patriots, you cannot collaborate with others. Of course we can collaborate. It is only necessary to see what is the atmosphere that is being breathed here today in front of all your interventions. It was not effective to continue doing the fight separately. It was not sensible. It was not useful. And in fact, I believe that this alliance cannot remain only in our party, in the party of patriots in Europe. We have to reach out permanently to our allies in Europe, We have to know how to park our differences and live with them without that preventing constant cooperation in the face of common enemies. That they are none other than the enemies of freedom, the enemies of the sovereignty and prosperity of our own homelands. We have no other enemies. And we must not only collaborate within Europe with other political forces. Patriotic forces are growing throughout our civilization that are reacting to this first attempt at global dictatorship, that is already resisting only in Brussels and in some supranational forums such as the United Nations, the World Health Organization, or the International Criminal Court, that attack our sovereignty, our security, our health, and that even dare to equate terrorists with democratic nations such as Israel. This is also where that global dictatorship is going to end. We are going to finish it here too. The world is changing for the better. Europe is changing for the better, and it can still change for the much better. Our people are going to regain their freedom, and we are going to fulfill each and every one of our promises. Of those promises that they told us were not possible, because we already see with envy how they are successfully applied in many other nations. We are seeing it in Argentina, we are seeing it in the United States, and we are going to show that we can fulfill our promises. And we have promised for a long time to make Europe great again. The greatness of Europe is the greatness of its nations. Let no one be mistaken. The greatness of Europe is not a gigantic building, nor a bureaucratic caste in Brussels, nor concentrating all the power away from our homelands. The greatness of Europe is in every European capital. It is in the hearts of Europeans within their own homelands. And that greatness of Europe can only be achieved by guaranteeing the historical continuity of our nations with respect for their sovereignty and the freedom of their people. Freedom of expression that they have tried to take away from us. It turns out that those who are called fascists are the defenders of freedom. The freedom of political representation, today shamelessly threatened by sinister commissioners everywhere. We are seeing it today in Germany against Liz Weidel, to whom we wish a victory in the next elections. We are seeing it in Austria, where they have wanted to prevent the main force from coming to power. We have seen it constantly in France with the National Front and with Rassemblement, who, despite winning the elections, did not want to let them govern. We have seen it in Hungary, that even when governing, they have done everything possible and have put in as much money as possible, and have tried to withdraw the funds, and have withdrawn them on many occasions to let people illegally enter through their borders, and to let the lobbies that corrupt children also enter the schools. We've seen it everywhere. Freedom also of parents to be able to educate their children, and freedom of children, of young people, to be able to have a stable job, to be able to start a family, to be able to advance, to be able to have access to housing. Basic freedoms, in short, simple freedoms, logical things. We don't talk about big things. Or yes, maybe we're talking about the bigger things. Civil liberties won a long time ago, and with a lot of effort, and that today are in question. That is why today it is time to denounce all these attacks on freedom, such as, for example, the Islamist courts, that are trying to establish on European soil with the complicity of the European left. The courts are absolutely incompatible with Europe, because Islamism is the antithesis of our civilization. Our heritage is Christian. Our heritage comes from Rome. It comes from Greece. That's what we are nothing else. And freedom, also to create wealth. To compete in a world without every second trips by politicians, without permanent regulations, without absurd climate regulations, without confiscatory taxes. By the way, regulations that other powers do not comply with, and that are irrelevant to the environment, and that are only effective to destroy our countryside, to ruin our industry, that is, to leave us without a future, and leave our young women without a future. In short, freedom so that nations can choose their own future. That is sovereignty. There are people who maybe sometimes do not understand what we mean. We mean exactly that. Freedom must return to Europe, and together we will achieve it. There is no time for discouragement, and there is no time to lick the wounds of the attacks we suffer. There is no reason for resignation, and there is no excuse for passivity. On the contrary, there are only signs of hope everywhere, and we have only one duty: to never give up. We cannot miss the opportunity that the present times give us. We are going to be witnesses for a historic victory. We are going to be protagonists of a historic victory. And we are going to be the tool for a historic victory of the ideas of freedom and sovereignty. Go ahead, patriots of Europe, without fear of anything or anyone. Long live the Europe of the homelands, and long live Spain.